Okay, how you doing? Today I was doing some stuff in the shop, and the main thing I've been doing, I was testing this A power station. There's going to be a video coming out on it sometime after the 6th. Today's the 2nd, so 4 more days or so. I'm very pleased with this. It's like a 2480 watt hour power station, and I just ran my DeWalt table saw off of that. I ran my compressor off of it. I ran my DeWalt belt sander. I ran the belt sander and the compressor at the same time. I had the table saw under load. I had it running for a little bit of time where I ran different materials through it. I used the chop saw here. I cut a bunch of stuff with the 12-inch Makita sliding compound miter saw. And right now, I'm just topping off these Makita batteries. And I mentioned there that I'm a Makita guy, and I thought I'd give you guys a quick talk up on why. I'm not typically, well, I'm somewhat, what's the term, brand loyal to a certain extent. When I got out of the Marines in 1987, I started building houses, and at that time, the compressor and nail gun system was there. I don't know if that was kind of a new technology at that time, but we had them, and they were these giant things. But for the most part, we were still framing houses swinging a hammer. So I was still doing things the old-fashioned way. We had a framing gun that would help, but for the most part, you were still swinging a hammer. That's why the forearm on this arm, it's not just because I'm single. Anyhow, I got out of that I did that for a while, and I went to college, and I learned home improvement with this guy, Roy Karch. And Roy had a Makita screw gun. You guys might remember those first Makitas. They had that long, straight handle. It had like a 9.6 volt battery in it. I had never used a screw gun before. And that was life changing, right? Handling one of those, using it. It was especially for home improvements, because you don't want to have to be pounding in somebody's house, especially when they're home. And when you could set something with a screw, it's just quieter, it's stronger. You can remove the screw or remove what you built and put it back and readjust things. So I don't have to tell you why a screw gun is great. But it was fabulous, and I loved that tool, and I had it for a long time. And when I moved out here to Los Angeles and I was working on the movie sets, a lot of people were still running those. There was this guy, Ron, who had, I think it was a 7.2 Makita. So it was the tinier Makita, the blue one, but the 9.6 volt battery fit in it. So he rigged this Velcro strap around that battery. So he had a more compact unit. He was way ahead of the game with weight. Pretty smart guy. I thought that was cool. And at that time, my Makita had kind of crapped out on me. This was, early 90s. Boy, let me think here. That was probably 93, 94. I got into the film business. I did that to about 2000. And anyhow, I went to the Milwaukee at that time. So, and I believe it was a 12 volt Milwaukee. I still have the metal box. They used to come in steel boxes, really nice boxes. I still have the box. It's in another thing over here. I use it to hold paperwork. And, when you're working on a movie set, you're using a screw gun all day. You're drilling holes, you're setting screws, you're building walls. I quickly moved from being just a set builder to being a prop maker. And then I was an on-set prop maker, or on-set carpenter, they called it. So I would do a lot of squib walls and things like that. So you're just using a screw gun all day, every day, hours and hours and hours. That is your main tool. And that Milwaukee at that time just was terrible. That battery life was horrendous, and it was a big, honking, heavy thing. So I kind of had a bad thing in my mind about Milwaukee. And then over the years, Makita got better a little bit. And I went to the Makita again, but they were crap at that time. It's probably the mid to late 90s. I never liked DeWalt. I never liked the way they operated. I never liked the way they just feel like toys to me. And eventually, I began building furniture and doing the what I do still today, which is custom built-ins and furniture. And for a number of years, I became a total snob. And I only wanted to build furniture or do high-end built-ins. I wasn't interested in doing any kind of like regular carpenter work, or, what I call basic carpentry, building fences, the stuff that let the other guys do it. That was my mindset, because I had enough furniture work at the time. And during that time, I was using these Bosch. These are 12 volts, but see how tiny that is? This has a full charge. It's been sitting in a bag for about 2, 3 years now. Yeah, probably 3 years unused, and I just opened it. Still got 3 bars, and it works. And this was great. And then about 5 years or so ago, I went home and I was doing some jobs. This is back in Jersey. And a buddy of mine, he owns Martell's up there on Point Pleasant on the boardwalk. And he's got a house on the water, and he's got a boat, he's got a dock, and we went to high school together. And he asked, Scott, what's up, man? He asked me if I wanted to redo his dock for him. I think, it was funny. He took us out on his boat one day, and I told one of the gals that we're all friends with, I said, man, Scott needs a new dock. This thing's falling apart. Next thing you know, I got a phone call. He's throwing a job my way, which was awesome. And I did a great job for him. There's videos on that. There's a lot of them on my Instagram. And at the time, I only had this set up because when I went home, I was doing the jobs I took on were like some trim jobs. I did a whole room, an addition, the interior of an addition up in upstate New York on that trip. But when I went to do the dock job, this was not enough power to do that, to be driving 3-inch screws all day, pre-drilling holes and everything else. And I always had a couple of these. My thing is I always like to have multiple screw guns because I like to have one with a drill on it, a drill bit with a countersink, like one of the Fullers, and then the gun. So I could drill the hole, pick up another gun, set the screw. It's faster than using the chuck to change that out every time. Time is money. So, because that was too underpowered for that real pro job, I had to use the client's tool. He had a DeWalt. So I used that, and I did not like it. I did not like it at all. The batteries were crap on it, and I was just having problems with that DeWalt. I wasn't happy, but it got the job done. So when I came back from that trip, I was like, I have to upgrade my system. So I started looking into it again, and Makita, Milwaukee, DeWalt, they're typically your top echelon of power tools. Milwaukee and DeWalt and Makita have the biggest selection of power tools to choose from. And in my opinion, I think if you're going to choose a tool system, a cordless tool system, you should just choose one and then buy all the tools that use the same battery. I've got something like 16 of these Makita batteries. Now this is a small one. This is just a 2 amp hour. These two here are 4. They just finished charging. And I've got a lot of the 5s. Most of the batteries I have are the 5 amp hour, 18 volt Makita batteries. Like I said, I've probably got 16 batteries. So the thing about the difference between Makita and Milwaukee is that Makita, at the time when I got into it, which is probably about 3 years now, that's when I put this away, they had the largest selection of tools to use with that battery, more so than Milwaukee. Now, Dave has Milwaukee, and it's a buddy of mine, my buddy Dave. If you're not used to the channel, my name's Mike, by the way, if you haven't seen me before. And Dave's a friend of mine. He's more of a mechanic. I think Milwaukee is pretty good for the mechanic cordless tools. And that's what he has, and I've used his tools before, and they work. I don't know if they're always a full battery charge, but I'm always feeling like his batteries go dead a little bit quicker. I feel like these Makitas last a lot longer than the Milwaukee batteries do. At any rate, I chose Makita. And the big reason, again, more tools than any other brand to use with the 18 volt system. And slightly a bit of brand devotion because the first screw gun I ever used in 1987 was the Makita. And another thing I like about Makita is they've got a subcompact line, which is black. Most of their tools, as you guys know, they're that teal blue. I don't care about what color the tool is. All I care about is the fact that it works. And I have the full-size Makita screw gun. I've got the full-size impact driver. I've got the one for the car with the 1/2-inch chuck. Is that an impact driver? Is that what you call that? I guess that's what you call that. And that's got heavy torque, so I could use on my suspension. I could use it to take my lug nuts off and everything else. That stays in the van all the time for that purpose. I've got everything. I mean, just about everything Makita has to offer for woodworking, I own. I wish they made, as far as I know right now, they still have not come out with an 18 volt cordless belt sander. I wish they'd make one. and they have no plans to come out with a 18 or 36 volt. 36 would be two 18-volt batteries at the same time. They've not yet come out with a table saw. I really wish they would. I wish they would do that. Makita, are you listening? Makita also makes chop saws, sliding compound miter saws like the one over here. They make a 10-inch and a 12-inch. And I personally like using a 12-inch because I can do big crown moldings if I get a job like that. And I'm considering that. I mentioned that in another video recently, and somebody said that he had one, and he felt that the battery life wasn't long enough to make the cost of the tool worth it. Okay, I don't know. The thing I like about the idea of the cordless is that, I can throw it in the van and go anywhere. With this power station, I can actually bring my... Now, keep in mind, if I was to bring my chop saw and my compressor and the other tools that plug into this, the van would be totally full with tools. Right now with the kit that I have, everything fits underneath the bed, so I still have this living room area in my van behind the passenger seat there. The passenger seat swivels. So I'm just throwing that out there. But with this now, if I wanted to, I could use the 12-inch saw that I have. I could be off-grid and power in that saw. I could power the table saw, all with this. So that's pretty cool. Stay tuned for that video. Like I said, it'll be out in a couple days. At any rate, Makita makes the subcompact line. What I like about it is it's a little smaller. So if you're using these things, and these 2 amp hour batteries, by the way, I got to tell you, plenty of power and they last plenty long. So if you're using this for a long period of time throughout the day, it could get pretty heavy, especially if you've got the 5 amp hour battery on here. So the fact that they make smaller batteries that are still powerful, it's a big deal. So you can see, if you were using this all day, there's a weight difference here and a weight distribution with the tool as well. But they're extremely ergonomic. And again, tiny. This one also happens to be a hammer drill. I have 5 of these. 2 or 3 of them I picked up at swap meets used. The other 2 I purchased. And I like having these because I keep, I have one in my bag. I keep one here in the shop, so I always got 2 here. I've got one that I keep in the van with a little basic kit, and I've got one at home. So I don't want to have to go looking for these all the time. I want to be able to look and go, okay, I got one. And every time I'm at a swap meet, if there's one of these I can get a really good deal on, I'm just buying it because they're awesome. But they also make, the subcompact line also has a Sawzall. It's a D handle, and it's compact. Love it. Have it. They make a 6-inch circular saw. Love it. That 6-inch circular saw, cordless, 18-volt circular saw, I literally remodeled like the inside of a closet while I was in the closet with these cordless tools, with no cables. I know everybody's going, well, of course, where have you been, man? Cordless has been around. I know they've been around a long time, but I was using more of a finesse tool and then a bunch of cordless tools forever. And it was about 2.5 years ago, close to 3 years ago, when I was like, screw it, and I just started spending money. And I had more work, and I was just buying all these tools to you have to upgrade your kit from time to time. Now I'm pretty well set, and I just can't say enough about it. But these are all the reasons why I chose the Makita. I will say, when I was first buying the Makita cordless 18-volt system, I bought the worm drive. I believe it takes 2 batteries at the same time, so it would be like a 36-volt worm drive 7 1/4 circular saw. That is heavy. It's got a crap ton of torque. I mean, it really twists your arm when you turn that thing on, and it's not a one-handed tool. It's too heavy and bulky to use one-handed. So it's in a bag right now, and it's in Arizona, at the house in Arizona. That's why I bought the small 6-inch blade one. And that thing is fantabulous. I will say, with the 7 1/4, what I'm going to do, or what I plan on doing, well, we'll see. I might not have to do it now, because now I know that the DeWalt table saw works with this power station. But I was thinking about just taking for lack of a better term, a piece of plywood, which it may or may not be, and setting up a mounting system for the worm drive saw underneath, and making a fence and everything, and basically having a mobile cordless table saw that's powered with that worm drive saw. I think that'll be pretty sharp. It'll be a cool thing to build. And it could basically, I could take the saw, put it in its bag, and have a top that basically sits on a set of legs or clamps onto another table, or maybe works with my Black & Decker table. So just a thought, just throwing it out there. But the whole purpose of video is just because I get into these conversations, or I'll mention Makita and somebody will tell me that they use DeWalt or they use Milwaukee, and they'll tell me why. I'm just telling you why I like Makita, you know, and I'll just reiterate. I like that they have a subcompact line that's highly ergonomic and smaller than their full-size line. I feel that their battery life is better than all the other tools I've used. I haven't had one of these break down on me ever. And larger selection of tools and everything from gardening tools, leaf blowers, you name it. I even have a ratchet, a Makita ratchet that I keep in my mechanical tool bag. And, you know, that's more for like when I'm working on the van. I don't want to sit there with a ratchet loosening a bolt all day. I throw the socket on there, zip. I can just take things apart a lot faster. It's a huge time saver. So that's it. Somewhat name or brand loyalty, like I said, going all the way back to the first one I ever used. But that's all. This is what I like. I happen to be a Makita fanboy, fan man, and now you know why. Have a good day. Be good. I'll catch you in the next one.